Glenford Christian's rags to riches journey, starting as a barefoot boy in the hills of Clarendon to become one of Jamaica's most respected businessmen, has been a true inspiration to many. Born the 8th of 14 children to Evelyn, a market vendor, Glen lost his father at age 2. For many young men, such circumstances would have been a sure recipe for failure. Instead, young Glen was determined to triumph over his circumstances and chart his own path to success.
At an early age, I would have to go to the market with my mother. Every Saturday morning, from about the age of 11, I was going to market with my mother. Kelly, which is about 7 miles from Brandon Hill. She will be on the donkey, and I'll be walking behind her, as they say, with your 10 commandments, barefooted. And I learned all of these trades because I would go with my mother. So I understand, customer relationship, because when she arrives at market, she'll always have her customers who will come to her.
At age 18, Glen migrated to Kingston, where he worked as a postman while attending school in the evenings. He eventually gained admission to the Mico Teachers College, now the Mico University College. After graduating, he worked briefly with the Ministry of Youth. But this salesman at heart soon gravitated to the area that he knew best.
I was working for AFJ Hummingbird Company. I worked there for 16 years. I was a salesman and then become a medical rep and then promoted to a sales manager.
After almost 2 decades of working in pharmaceutical distribution, Glen started his own pharmaceutical company, Cari-Med Limited, with 1 generic brand and 3 employees.
My first business actually was a pharmacy in Portmore, in Bayside Plaza. When I purchased that as a going business, my wife Mama was then working with the government, and I took her from government to run that pharmacy. That was the first business. And that business, triggered the whole idea that, okay, there's a greater opportunity. And I saw what I was doing for me, Mr. Hopwood. But I've always said to people that a business exists where there is an unmet need. When I started the Cari-Med in 1986, I started feeling a need, and that need was to supply generic drugs. Generic drugs, quality generic drugs at probably 50–60% lower than the brand. The rest is history, because today we are the largest pharmaceutical distributor in Jamaica.
10 years later, the company launched its consumer goods division.
So we went on and got into the consumer business in 1996. Today we are among the top 3 distributors in the consumer trade.
2006 saw the birth of a new company, Kirk Distributors Limited, through the acquisition of Colgate-Palmolive Jamaica's assets and distribution rights for its products in Jamaica. Interestingly, this location at 216 Marcus Garvey Drive was one of the addresses to which Glen delivered letters as a postman. Kirk Distributors' success with the Colgate brand led to distribution rights for other multinational brands.
What began as a small pharmaceutical distribution company has now evolved into a group of companies, now known as the Cari-Med Group. In fact, we can be considered one of the fastest growing consumer distribution companies in Jamaica.
In 2013, Glen acquired the Kendall brand, a locally owned company, now a formidable brand of food products widely distributed in Jamaica and some diaspora markets. In 2015, the group expanded into manufacturing with the purchase of Federated Pharmaceutical, a manufacturing company formerly owned by J. Ray and Nephew Limited. A year later, the group acquired Colgate-Palmolive's regional brands. This gave birth to the formation of a second manufacturing arm, Bomber Manufacturing, which produces the soap for distribution in Jamaica and throughout the Caribbean. Glen attributes his success to God and the support of his staff, suppliers, customers, and family.
My wife is my rock. My children, grandchildren, eating together, traveling together. It's everything.
In terms of staff retention, the Cari-Med Group boasts one of the lowest attrition rates in Jamaica. This is due to the chairman's leadership philosophy of winning through people.
He's an excellent coach and mentor, and once he recognizes that you have the ability, he will give you hands-on experience, what he terms side steering.
Anything he had in mind, even though he had the authority to make these decisions on his own, he would always bounce it off 4 or 5 of us, and then he would make a decision moving forward.
Core family values are paramount to Cari-Med's success. There are no barriers here. All employees are treated the same and with respect regardless of job title.
I always support my husband, even when the ideas sound far-fetched, but far-fetched as they may, they always come to fruition.
Glen's record of service and achievement has earned him numerous honors and awards from the Jamaican government and private sector.
I think Glen exemplifies everything that we would want the Jamaican successful business person to be. He has not lost his creativity, he has not lost his Jamaicanness, but at the same time, he can compete with anyone, anywhere, globally.
Despite the many accolades, Glen continues to measure his success by the numerous lives he has been able to impact. A firm believer in helping the less fortunate, he established the Cari-Med Foundation with its mandate to positively impact early childhood education, healthcare, and community building. The Foundation's major educational initiatives include construction of 2 state-of-the-art infant schools.
I started an early childhood program, about 8 years ago, and along comes Glen to tell me that we are going to build a school in Union Gardens. And he never expanded on it anymore. I know he wanted to do it. That's the Glen Christian way. He had already done one in his mom's name up in Clarendon, where he's from, Brandon Hill. And that's a wonderful example of how a private sector company can work with the government to create this type of institution. So he calls me one day, I'm having a launch, come down to Kirk. So I go down to Kirk, I get a bottle of water, I get a sandwich, and he commits on my behalf $21 million. Well, I was expecting expensive sandwich, expensive bottle of water, but it didn't end there, It didn't end there. At the end of the project, I think we both put about $56 million into it, with a lot of help from the government and the funds, and from private sector companies. We actually created this school at Union Gardens, and we did it in under 6 months.
An ongoing beneficiary of the Foundation's generosity is the Michael University College, the alma mater of both Glen and his wife Marva. The latest project is support of a capital campaign to build a STEM center to be housed on the campus.
Every day he wakes up asking what more he can do for his country.
Glen's passion is for the revitalization of the downtown Kingston Market District, which he believes is a key factor for economic development. He has been integrally involved in promoting public-private sector partnerships aimed at attracting investors to make this a reality. 13-year-old Glen might not have known then that he would become a business leader of the 21st century. But he's very sure one of the valuable lessons from his mother is to always have a heart for the people and a mind for business.
He is a trailblazer, a pioneer in what he does and everything that he does. So this is a 21st century man, okay? And it's not somebody, you don't find somebody like this any and every day.